Thank Hashem that we're able to learn every morning. So we're learning we should have the base of Megillah immediately. For Shlema, for Yechiel Nassim ben Sarah, and David Alevi ben Menucha the Lester, Avram Rafal ben Sarah. Okay, we're today on Chaf Beis, and towards the bottom. It's really the first of the middle wide lines. And my Gemara, there's like several sets of, it gets wider and wider. So in the middle, the first of those, it says, Zah klal kol sheish b'musaf. The Mishnah gave us a rule of how many aliyahs, how many people get called to the Torah on the different days. So we said Monday, Thursday was 3, and Rosh Chodesh was 4, Chol Hamoed is 4, Yom Tov is 5, Yom Kippur is 6, Shabbos is 7. What's the rule? So the rule was that if there's Musaf, but it's not a Yom Tov, then it's 4 days. If it is a Yom Tov, then it's 5. What would be Musaf and not a Yom Tov? Rosh Chodesh. It's not a Yom Tov, but there's Musaf. Chol Hamoed. It's not a Yom Tov, but there's Musaf. If it is a Yom Tov, then 5 aliyahs. And Yom Kippur, was 6, and Shabbos was 7. That's what we said. Okay, now let's do see the Gemara. Ibailahu. Problem is, the Ibailu means the yeshiva had a question. Tainas tzibur bekama. What about a public fast day? Which category does it go into? Well, there's no musaf, and it's not a Yom Tov. It should automatically be 3. So it says like this. Rosh Chodesh u'mayid karbon musaf arba. Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed, there's a musaf sacrifice. So over there you have 4. Aval hacha, but by the Tainas tzibur, the leka carbon musaf, it should only be 3. Seems good. However, Oidelma hachanami eka musaf tefila. Maybe musaf means something else. Come on. Maybe musaf means musaf tefila. We add in an extra prayer in the all right, it wasn't the way I thought that's what it meant, but so Tashma, let's bring a proof. What's the extra prayer? We say Anenu. It says we bring a proof like this. Rosh Chodesh and Megillah Shemot Karen Arba. On Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed you read 4. Okay, we're Medayak. We deduce from that. You've only said Rosh Chodesh and Chol Hamoed you read 4. Ha b'Tainas tzibur Gimel. But on a fast day, it should only be 3. See, you didn't say Tainas tzibur, so it's probably only 3. The Gemara says, well, if you're going to play that game, then Emaresha, let's look at the beginning of the Mishnah. It says B'Sheni v'Chamishi b'Shabbos b'Mincha Karen Gimel. It says Monday, Thursday, and Shabbos afternoon, you read 3. Okay, Ha Tainas tzibur. You didn't mention Tainas tzibur, probably because Arba, probably because there's 4. So we're never going to be able to prove anything from this because it goes both ways. From this, you can't imply anything. Okay, let's try again. Tashema, come and listen to Rav Yiklal Bavel. Rav comes to Bavel. Now, Rav is actually from Bavel, but he went to Eretz Yisrael to learn with his uncle. He went with Reb Chia to learn in the yeshiva of Rebbe, where he received smicha, Yere Yadin Yadin. And then he comes back to Bavel. He comes back to Bavel, possibly he went more than once, but Tainas tzibur is in Bavel. It's a Tainas tzibur. Maybe Bavel actually just means there was a country Bavel and there was a city Bavel, like New York. And it could be that this was just another city. He lived in Surah, maybe. Kam Kara B'Sifra. It was a Tainas tzibur. And he reads from the Sefer Torah. Pasach, he opens. Baruch, he says the bracha. Chasim, he concludes. V'loi Baruch, but he doesn't say the after bracha on the Torah. So he only says Asher Bachar Banu. He doesn't say Asher Nasan Lanu. Torah Tameh. He doesn't say the after blessing. All right. So far we didn't prove anything. Nafal, Nafal Kuli Alma on Payo. Everyone does Nefilas Apayim. That means they say the Tachnan, where they put their hand and they fall on their face. Rav le Nafal Alapi. Rav doesn't fall on his face. The Gemara says Michdi. Let's see what's going on over here. Rav be Yisrael Kara. Rav was not a Kayan, so he must have read the third Aliyah. That's what we're thinking. Well, it definitely wasn't Kayan and Levi, right? My time Achasim v'lei Barach. Why did he not say the after blessing? Aha. This is interesting. Lav misham de'boile mikrechen Basrei. This must be following what we said before, that the after blessing is said by the last aliyah.
Right, yeah.
And so there must be 4 aliyahs. Rav gets shlishi. The one that gets revi says the after blessing.
It's not
very good.
It was after Maftir?
No, it would be not after the after, it would be after the last aliyah. So the Mikrachin Basrei, someone else is being called up. This is a very interesting proof that on a Tainus Tzibur you read 4 aliyahs. You read 4 people get called up. The Gemara says like
There's 7, no?
on Shabbos there's 7. What about a fast day? That's what we're holding. What's going to be on a fast day? Is it 3 or 4? So Monday to Thursday is 3. So the Gemara says like Rav Bekani Kara. Rav read Kayan. Okay. The Rav Huna Kari Bekani, because Rav Huna read Kayan. The Gemara says, 1 second. Rav Huna is a student of Rav. Bishleimer Rav Huna Kari Bekani. What's happening here is that we're familiar with the Kayan getting the first aliyah because we have to give respect to the Kayan. But also the Talmud Chacham. Actually, the Talmud Chacham takes precedence over the Kayan. What does the Gemara say? Yikarahim epninim. Talmud Chacham, Mamzer Talmud Chacham comes before Kayan Gadol Amaretz.
Who's a Talmud Chacham comes before
the Kayan Gadol that's Amaretz. He just deserves. Yeah. So in other words, the lineage is important, but the Talmud Chacham that doesn't have any lineage, is a Mamzer, would come first. So for sure, Rav, or Rav, here we're saying Rav Huna got the Kayan Aliyah. And Rav probably also did. The Gemara says, 1 second. Bishleim Rav Huna Kari Bekani, Dafila Rav Ami Varavasi, Dekani, Chashividar Yisrael, Mekav Kaifale Rav Huna. Rav Ami and Rav Asi, that happened to be students of Rav Huna, I think, and then they moved to Eretz Yisrael to study by Rabbi Yochanan. Even then, they were still subdued to Rav Huna. They held Rav Huna was greater than them. Okay, and they were the great Kayanim of Eretz Yisrael, and Rav Huna was greater. So we understand why Rav Huna would get the Kayan Aliyah. Rav Shmuel the Kana have the Dibra Allah. What about Shmuel? Rav and Shmuel were in the same generation. Shmuel was the Kayan. Shmuel was even greater than Rav. It says, no, Shmuel Nami make have a Kayaf Leila Rav. Shmuel was not greater than Rav. Shmuel was underneath Rav's authority. For Rav, who David like covered, Rav just gave him respect.
And they say Rav time about they say that about Shmuel.
No. Shmuel was in Babel before Rav. I don't know if he was older. He definitely survived Rav. He lived after Rav. I'm not sure though. Where did Shmuel learn? Did Shmuel learn by Rebbe also?
I don't know who's the one to decide who's a greater Talmid Chacham.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is interesting. You'd have to ask the kids that play with the Gedolim cards to see how much they trade them for. Okay, so Rav David le covered. Rav just gave him honor. That was only in front of him. Rav gave him covered, but not when he wasn't in front of him. Hachinam mistabra. It also makes sense to Rav Bekani Kara that Rav got the Kayin Aliyah. Why? These Salkadaitach the Yisrael Kara. If you would say that Rav got the Yisrael Aliyah, which is what we were trying to prove, that we were saying that Rav probably got Shlishi, and then he didn't say the after blessing because someone was going to be called after him, which would tell us that a Tainus Tzibur gets 4 Aliyahs. It says no. There's a problem with that. First of all, could be he got the first Aliyah, and second of all, he obviously got the first Aliyah. So why did he say a first bracha? If he got Shlishi, why did he say the first bracha? You were telling me that the reason why I didn't say the last bracha is because someone was going to be called after. So the first bracha is only said by the first Aliyah. He must have got Kayan. We figured it out. The Gemara says it's not a real proof. It's Lacher Takana. It's because after the Takana, when every person makes the 2 brachas, that's what's going on. So it's after the takana. So the reason why he said the first bracha was because he got shlishi, but it's after the takana. Everyone that gets called up says a bracha. So it says no, you can't say that because he hachi lachra nam levarach. So why didn't he say the after bracha? Was the obvious question that was coming up. You answered half. With that answer, you create new problem. So it says shani heicha the Yosef Rav. The male ayel mepak leinafki. See, it's different. Where Rav if Rav was there, then people would come in, but no one would leave. So, what's the reason why you say in other words, the takana is that we don't want anyone to come in thinking that you don't have to say a bracha before the aliyah. Okay, so everyone has to say every aliyah says a bracha because someone may have came in late and didn't know that the kayan already said the bracha. You may think that people that get called to the Torah don't have to say a bracha. They won't realize that they're covered by the first. So everyone has to say their own bracha. But why do we say a bracha afterwards? Because someone may leave early and think that you don't have to say a bracha afterwards.
Didn't we say it was someone that comes in the middle and thinks that we didn't say a bracha at the beginning?
Right. So that's why every person needs to recite their own bracha. That way someone that comes in late will see. But what about for someone that leaves early may think that, there's no after bracha because he won't know that the last person is going to say the after bracha. So Rav didn't say the after bracha because no one would leave early when he's around.
With this type of logic, does this mean that this is a bracha she'ena tzricha and that this was a takana to actually allow it?
Yeah. Somehow it avoids the Eina Tzricha. I'm not sure how it avoids the Eina Tzricha. If everyone could be covered, then why is each person saying it? Because of this takana, because of the mistake, they made it that each person can say it. Yeah. I'm not sure how it works by a bracha she'ena tzricha. If one person can say a bracha for everyone and cover everyone, and everyone can say their own bracha, is that a bracha she'ena tzricha? Probably not, right? Because we see all the time that people say their own bracha.
Isn't a bracha she'ena tzricha is like if you had a fish and you made a shackle and then you have some water and you want to make a shackle again?
Right. So that would be a bracha she'ena tzricha. The question is, if you're eating fish and the rest of your family is eating fish, and should everyone recite their own bracha, or should you make the bracha for all of them? That may not be, and they would just respond the main. That may not be under the category of bracha she'ena tzricha. You may be allowed to do your own. You follow? Yeah.
What's the story that Russia was talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I guess the underlying question I had is more, they're producing the additional blessings for the benefit of those that may come in late. And how does that work out with using Hashem's name in a non-necessary capacity? If there's no one that's coming late, now all of a sudden you've just made an extra bracha.
Right.
If that's the logic.
Right. So I'm assuming that they instituted it not that you have to look around the shul and see if someone came in late, but they instituted that because someone may come in late and he may think that you don't say a bracha before the aliyah. What does it say over there?
I think that we should probably repeat that.
What did it say?
No.
Was that when he came to Bavel?
For Rav once per Shmuel, that he should not have sons.
Right.
Afterwards, he regretted having done so, sought to make amends by treating Shmuel with great honor, even though Rav was the more respectful.
Yeah.
This is what Rashi said.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
also says here, the footnote to answer Tosfos Yom Tov says that nowadays, his days already, it's customary for the Kohen to read first in all cases because the comparative stature of Torah scholars is no longer defined.
Yeah.
Any attempt to single out specific individuals.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That's
That's
so
an important point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Rabbi Naftali's quoting the Teisus Yom Tov that nowadays we don't differentiate between who's a Talmud Chacham and we just give to the Kohen. Okay. Yeah, what happened with Shmuel was that Rav came to Bavel and Shmuel had and he had a disease, he had a stomach disease, and from the boat ride, and Shmuel, in order to heal him, didn't let him use the bathroom, so that healed him. But Rav was in pain and he cursed Shmuel, so he cursed Shmuel. So Shmuel didn't have any sons. Shmuel had these daughters that were taken captive. He didn't have sons, so or maybe it means sons that took after him. So afterwards, he regretted that curse and he gave Shmuel honor. Okay, we're holding on the top of Chaf Beis Amud Beis. Kashima, we're looking for a proof. What's happening on a Tainus Tzibur? Zehaklal, here's the rule. Kol sheyesh bebitul malach halam, kagein Tainus Tzibur v'tisha b'av, Karen Gimel. Anytime it would be considered a work day. So we don't want to take away people's work, so we don't do too many aliyahs. So we only do 3 aliyahs. What's an example of that? Well, a fast day and Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, we said that there is a custom not to do work, but that's not a halacha not to do work, it's a custom. So therefore, there's only 3 aliyahs on Tisha B'Av and on a Tainus Tzibur. We figured it out, by the way, that's our answer. What about if there's no, if there wouldn't be bittul malacha? In other words, there's no work that day anyway. So then, so like for example, Rosh Chodesh and Chalamayid, then Karen Dalet, then you read 4 aliyahs. Shmamina, okay, we have a good proof from here that a Tainus Tzibur is 4 aliyahs. A little problematic Gemara because it says on Rosh Chodesh we don't do work. So Rashi quotes that it's actually referring to the women don't do work, or maybe originally people didn't do work. Maybe in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, Rosh Chodesh they didn't do work. That's from other commentaries that say that as well. Yeah, today the women don't do work, so the men have to. The women prepare all the laundry. They spray it and scrub it and all of that. They put it in the machine, and then they call the husband, and he pushes the button. He comes in to save the day. Does a lot of all the hard work. The women are on vacation. Oh yeah. Okay. It's like the barbecues, where the man just stands by the fire. The woman does all the sauces and salads and cleans up afterwards.
Yeah.
So everyone says, "Thank you. What a good barbecue." Okay. Amar Ravashi. Ravashi says, we have a problem over here. It's taught, if there's no musaf, and it's not a yamtiv, you have 4 aliyahs. Now you said zehaklal, this is the rule. Usually when you say zehaklal, this is the rule, you're coming to teach me something that wasn't listed, that wasn't itemized. I need a zehaklal, a general rule to include other things that weren't itemized. Lasuyimai, what are you coming to include? It must be lav lasi Tainus Tzibur v'Tisha B'Av. You must be including Tainus Tzibur and Tisha B'Av. There should be 4 aliyahs then. The Gemara says Ravashi masnisin mani. According to Ravashi, that says that there should be 4 aliyahs. So who's going to be the author on Tisha B'Av? Who's going to be the author of the following brisa? Lei Tanakama v'lei Rabbi Yosi. It's not going to be Tanakama or Rabbi Yosi. It says the Tanya. It's taught like this. It says like this. Chal liyas b'sheni v'chamishi. Let's say Tisha B'Av is on a Monday or a Thursday. Tisha B'Av can't be on a Monday nowadays, but it could be on a Thursday. So yeah, it's always the same way that Pesach falls out as Tisha B'Av, right? First day of Pesach is Tisha B'Av. That's true. Yeah, Atbash. The first day of Pesach is always the same day as Tisha B'Av, and the second day of Pesach is always the same day as Shavuos, and it goes all the way till Yom Ha'atzmaut. Yeah, that's it's a modern. Okay, it's taught in the Brisa that if Tisha B'Av is on a Monday or Thursday, Karen Gimel Amafter Echad, call up 3 Aliyas, and then there's the Haftarah. Shlishi Bervi, let's say it falls out on Tuesday or Wednesday, Karen Echad Amafter Echad. Then because it's not a day that it usually has the Torah reading, so there's only one Aliyah plus the Haftarah. Rabbi Yosi says no. There's always 3 Aliyahs and 1 Haftarah. So the problem is, no one's saying that there's 4 Aliyahs. It's not Rabbi Yosi. According to Rav Ashi, who's the? This doesn't fit with our Mishnah of Zaklal. Elakash is Zaklal, but then so what? But I get it. You have a brisa that's problematic, but then you have a Mishnah that's problematic if you go the other way. That who is the Zaklal has to be including something. Where it says Leila Sirish Chedesh Umayed. Habehedi Ktanila. Rashi Chadash Umayed Karinaba. It can't be including Rosh Chodesh because and Cholamayid because the Gemara says the Mishnah said clearly that there's 4 aliyahs. So Zaklal has to be including something else. What's the other thing? It must be including Tainus Tzibur. And now we have a problem with the Brisa. So the Mishnah, because the Zaklal is so significant, it must be teaching me something. It must be teaching me Tainus Tzibur. The Gemara answers, well, Simana Ba'al Mayav. It's actually just giving me a mnemonic or a simon. Don't think that Yom Tov and Chalamayid is the same. Rather, you should accept this rule called the Tafila Milsa Mechaver. Anything that has anything additional than its friend. That means any day that has any additional significance. So Tafila Gavri Yisera gets an extra aliyah. Let's begin with. You start with 3 aliyahs. Rosh Chodesh and Chalamayid, there's a carbon musaf, so you get Karin Arba, then you call up 4 people. B'Yom Tov das b'asiyas malacha. Yom Tov you don't do work, so Chamisha. B'Yom Kippurim danish kares, Shisha. Yom Kippur where it's more strict, it's 6 aliyahs. Shabbos tikir, so skila. Shabbos, so strict that someone does work on Shabbos, it's a capital punishment. So Shiva, you have 7 aliyahs. Okay. Basically, don't bring a rule from the Mishnah of Zaklal because that Zaklal is an exception to the rule. It's actually not including anything. It's just making it easier for us to remember. Gufa, let's go back to discuss Rav coming to Bavel and what happened. Rav iklala Bavel b'tainus tzibur. Rav came to Bavel on a fast day. Kamkar b'sifra. He read from the Sefer Torah. Pasach. He opens Baruch. He says Asher bachar bano chasim. He concludes the reading v'loi Baruch, and he doesn't say Asher nasan lanu. Nafal kuli alma and payu, everyone falls on their face. V'Rav le nafal alanpe, but Rav doesn't. My time Rav le nafal. Why didn't Rav say tachla? It was a yard site. No. What happened? So the Gemara says, Ritzba shalavana maisa. The floor was made out of stone. So he doesn't want to fall on the floor because he doesn't want to bow down on stone. Betanya, V'Eben Maskas, like sitting in Bartzachem, l'shtach v'Saleh. You can't have a bowing stone to bow on, only in the Beis Hamikdash. On a stone like that, you can't bow down, but in the Beis Hamikdash, you can. And Kidu'ula, Damarula, And it's like Ula says that it's only a stone floor that's the problem, that you're not allowed to bow. Okay, so Gemara says, Rav, if you look Nami. So why was Rav the only one that wasn't bowing down? Everyone should not have bowed down. It says, well, Kamei de Rav Hava, that stone was in front of Rav. It was an interesting floor. It was made up of other materials, and then where Rav was, there was a stone.
In those days, they did
Yeah, well, Rav did. So the Gemara says, "V'leisel gabi tzibura." They had a carpet over there, and Rav was in the front. The carpet didn't reach. It was one of those Oriental carpets in the shul. It didn't go all the way to the front. So Rav was in Mizrach. So why doesn't he take a step back? Oh, in Ma'ariv. Thank you. Yeah, it's in Bavel. He's in Ma'ariv. He's in the front of the shul. Okay. So V'lim Palalape. Why doesn't he go over to where everyone is and bow over there? It says everyone would have had to move, or maybe everyone would have followed or something. So he didn't want to bother everyone. Rav did Tachlan different than everyone else. Rav would actually bow down by stretching his hands out. Stretching his hands and feet, I would actually bow on the floor, but other people didn't do that. So for Rav, it was a problem, not for them. So the Gemara says, what? He's a perfectionist. He has to do it exactly the best way. Wasn't able to do it, so let him do it at least the other way. Just to bow on the table, put his hands, his head on his hand. It says, he never changed his custom. So he wasn't going to do it. It's either all or nothing. We have another pshat. Adam Chashav Shaini, Rav did not do Tachnun because nothing to do with the stone. It says, Kid Rabbi Lezer, Dam Rabbi Lezer, Ein Adam Chashav Rashai Lipal Alpana, Velam Kain Nana Ki Yeshua Benun, Diksiv Vayemer Hashem Yeshua Kum Lech V'Gaimer. If he was in the community, he didn't want everyone to see that he's actually saying this prayer. Shouldn't fall on his face, because then there's an expectation that Hashem is going to answer him, and Hashem will not always answer him. He has to be guaranteed that Hashem is going to answer him in order for him to pray like this. As it says by Yeshua, that he knew that Hashem would answer him, and that's why he prayed. He bowed down all the way. It says, why are you bowing down? You should get up. Okay. What are we seeing from this? In the community, he would not say Tachnun. That's what we're saying. An important person, shouldn't, like Rav, would not say Tachnun. He would not bow down on his face in the community. Taisvus adds that on his own he would say. Tanu Rabbanan, started in a Braisa Kida Lapayim. Yeah, the Gemara always throws this in whenever it has a chance. Every opportunity, it throws it in. So
Nowadays,
Gemara.
when we fall on our faces, that's when you just cover.
Yeah. Yeah. Kida, the term kida, which is a term for bowing, that means on the person's face. What does it mean on the face? It probably just means that you bow all the way down to the ground, but without the knees and the waist touching the ground. It's just the head touching the ground. Kriya, when it says the word kriya, it means also bow, but that's al birkayim, that's on the knees. Oh, so by Bathsheba bows to David 7 times. It says Vatikaid. She bowed down from probably just so called when you touch your toes, the exercise. So you bow your head all the way down to the ground. And Hishtachava, that's Mikra al Birka, that's Shlomo Melech, after his long tefillah that he says after the inauguration of the Beis Hamikdash. He gets up from being bowing on his knees. That's already flat on the floor. This is Yaakov telling Yosef, what? Are we going to bow down? Your mother is going to bow down, and I and your brothers are going to bow down to you. Okay.
It's interesting in English, they say that that type of bowing down was like a push up on your fingers.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
bow down just on your thumbs.
Kida. Right. So Levi was a student of Rebbe. And his name was Levi Bar Sisi, I think. Levi achvi kida kamei de Rebbe v'itla. Levi is going to show everyone. He's going to do a demonstration of how kida works, and he bows down in front of Rebbe, but he must have like pulled a muscle or something, and he ends up after that limping the rest of his life. V'haka garmalei. I don't know if it's the rest of his life. Yeah, this is Levi.
It says here, since he rests on his thumbs rather than on his hands, there is an inordinate strain placed on the back of his legs when rising. It's caused Levi to dislocate his hip and become lame.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So the Gemara says, "V'haka garmalei." Is that what happened to Levi? V'amar Abelazar leilam al yitiach adam dvarim klapi mayla. She'adam gadol yitiach dvarim klapi mayla v'itla umano Levi. We have a statement in Masechta Tainas. They were asking for rain, and Levi prayed. He says, "What are you, God? You're forgetting about your children. You don't take care of your children," which was not a respectful comment. So it says you should never speak like that disparagingly towards heaven, towards God. So one person did, and he became lame. So that was Levi. So you already telling me that he became lame because of the bow, the demonstration that he was doing, and he hurt himself. It was because of something that he said. Umar says, yeah, it was both. He said the wrong thing. And then during the demonstration, that's how he... Amar Reb Chia bar Ravin. Reb Chia bar Ravin says, Chazinu lula abaya v'rava, the matzli atzliye. They would say tachnan, but they would go on their sides. Okay. On top of Chaf Gimel. Says, B'Yom Tov is Chamisha, B'Yom Kippur Meshisha. On Yom Tov there's 5 aliyahs, and in Kippur there's 6 aliyahs. Umar says, Mastis and Mani. Who's the author of our Mishnah? Lei Rabbi Shmuel, v'lei Rabbi Akiva. These are contemporaries. Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. They argue other places as well. Major machlekes, and they have a machlekes about this as well. And both of them are not going to, either one is not going to fit with our Mishnah. It goes like this. The Tanya was started in the Brisa, B'Yom Tov Chamisha. So far, so good. On Yom Tov, there's 5 aliyahs. That would fit. B'Yom Kippurim Shisha. So far, so good. On Yom Kippur, there's 6. B'Shabbos Shiva. So far, so good. Shabbos is 7. It's perfect. I don't see the problem yet. But Ein Paich Samem, you can't have less. Okay. Also, so far, so good. However, Vein Meisif and Aleim, you're not allowed to add. Oh, that's a problem. Our Mishnah, we said that you're allowed to add.
There's one. Yeah. Oh.
Div Rabbi Shmuel. That's the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. So it can't fit with our Mishnah. Rabbi Kiva Aimer, B'Yom Tov is Chamisha. And Yom Tov is 5. That would fit. B'Yom Kippurim is Shiva. Okay, we're already in problem mode. There's on Yom Kippur, there's 7. That was not like our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said Yom Kippur was 6. But Shabbos is Shisha. Shabbos is 6 aliyahs. That doesn't fit with our Mishnah either. You can't have less, but you can have more. Okay, that would be okay, but the numbers are off. So it says Mani. Rabbi Shmuel kasha teisefes. If it's Rabbi Shmuel, then there's a problem about adding. It doesn't fit with our Mishnah. Rabbi Kiva kasha shisha v'shiva. If it's Rabbi Kiva, there's a problem with the numbers. How many aliyahs are on Yom Kippur and Shabbos? Amarava Tana de Rabbi Shmuel. Don't worry. Just because you have a machlekes somewhere else that doesn't fit with our Mishnah, doesn't mean that that's the only opinions there are. There happens to be another opinion that will fit with our Mishnah. The Tana de Rabbi Shmuel was taught in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel. Yom Tov is Chamisha. On Yom Tov there's 5. Yom Kippur Meshish, Yom Kippur has 6. Shabbos is Shiva. Shabbos has 7 aliyahs. Ein Peichs Me'am Av Misifan Le'am. Div Rabbi Shmuel. That's what Rabbi Shmuel says. They have this brisa in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel, which is great. In other words, they had like a manual or something of the brises that were taught in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel. This was one of them. The Gemara says, well, that's a problem because kasha de Rabbi Shmuel ad Rabbi Shmuel. Now Rabbi Shmuel doesn't fit with his own opinion. He says, well, that's not such a problem because Trei Tanai alib de Rabbi Shmuel. It's the students in the name of Rabbi Shmuel that say this. Yeah, we don't have like 100% clarity on what that means. Doesn't mean that Rabbi Shmuel taught to different students different things at different times. Rabbi Shmuel changed his mind. It doesn't mean that the students understood different things from Rabbi Shmuel. It's not 100% clear, but the Gemara seems to accept that as an answer. In other words, I could pursue the question of But Kasha the Rabbi Shmuel or the Rabbi Shmuel, where it says, well, Trey Tanai, I'll leave the Rabbi Shmuel. That's an answer. I could pursue and say, well, that's a problem. How do you have two students saying that in the name? But the Gemara seems to be satisfied with that all the time. The Gemara accepts that. Keman Tanala Tanya. Who's the author of the following brayso? It says, B'yom tov ma'achrin lavei marim latzis. On Yom Tov, we come late to shul, but you leave early. Why do you come late to shul on Yom Tov? Why do we start the davening later? It says, well, on Yom Tov, you're allowed to cook. So you want to set up the food in the morning. You come home, you should be able to eat. Why do you leave early? You want to have a big meal. So you leave early. You don't stretch it out. Yom Kippur, you come early. You're not preparing any food. But you can leave late because there's nothing to eat. Then you stay late, right? The chazan. On Shabbos, you can't prepare anything in the morning. What are you going to do? You had to prepare everything from Friday, right? It's Shabbos. You can't cook. So you can come early to shul on Shabbos, the 8 o'clock minyan. Memarim latzis. And you leave early because you want to have the chalent. So you leave early. Lema Rabbi Akiva disle Gabri Yisera. Let's say when it says that in Yom Kippur you stay late, that's Rabbi Akiva's view that says that you add an extra aliyah. That's what it means you stay late. Because Rabbi Akiva held that on Yom Kippur you have 7 aliyahs. And on Shabbos you leave early. Why? Because you only have 6 aliyahs. It fits with Rabbi Akiva. Yeah.
I don't understand. Rabbi Akiva is assuming that people will leave early so that they don't have us.
Yeah, well, it's not. It's not. Doesn't necessarily mean that everyone leaves the shul while the service is still going.
Oh.
It means that you cut it short. You cut the service short. It means you don't do all the whatever the full service is. You make it shorter. So what would it fit with? Based on what we know, they only have 6 aliyahs. Okay, yeah, it's not like much shorter. It's an extra aliyah. It's the guy that's late. His wife says, "Why are you late?" The yaki. He says, "Yeah, we started to say the same talamata. Came late." Okay, yeah, it's an extra aliyah. So lema Rabbi Akiva this legabri yisera. Maybe it's Rabbi Akiva. It says, "I feel tem Rabbi Shmuel the nafresh sidura diyayma." Well, there's other things that are going on. Sidura diyayma. What does that mean, Sidura diyayma? What do you have in the commentary? Does that mean in the Musaf there's extra things? Yeah. But what is it referring to specifically?
It says here, although the Torah reading may be shorter, prayer service in general is very long, and that is why we need the synagogue later.
Okay. So it doesn't have anything specific. The prayer service is longer. Fine. Now the Gemara's interesting question. Hani Shleisha Chamisha Shiva. We have this arrangement of it's 3, 5, 7. It's actually 4. But who is that corresponding to? What about the 4? It's interesting. We left out the 4. We left out the 6 also. This place just mentions that. Okay. But who are these 3, the 3, 5, and 7 aliyahs? Who is that corresponding to? Connected me. Yeah, who's that corresponding to? It says, well, there's a difference in opinion. One is Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani. The other one is someone else. Doesn't say who. Umanu, who is that? Reb Shimon ben Pazi. Reb Shimon ben Pazi. I think the Gemara, somewhere it says, maybe in the Zayar it says, that Reb Shimon ben Pazi, did he want money? He asked his teacher, he wants to become wealthy. No, yeah, they promised him, if you study Torah, you're going to become wealthy. Then he didn't become wealthy. Then someone comes into the Beis Medrash and says, somehow he ends up giving like this big, he says a bunch of gold. He says, I have this gold, I just want to give it to one of the yeshiva students. So they say, give it to Reb Shimon ben Pazi. He wanted to be wealthy. Actually, they called him Ben Pazi, I think, right away. They said, oh, the rich one. Paz means gold. Afterwards, he complained to his teacher. I didn't want money. I wanted Torah or something. Why did you?
You got what you wanted.
Yeah, but he changed
Not
his
through,
goals changed
yeah.
after. Okay. Amila Reb Shimon ben Pazi v'chadim. Some say it was Shimon ben Pazi and someone else. Aman Reb Yitzchak bar. I have to look up that story. Aman, and who was it? Who was the other person? Reb Yitzchak bar Nachmani. That's the same thing, right? It's just Amila Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani. Okay, it's different versions of who it was that said this. Chad Amar Keneged Birkas Kayanim. Very beautiful. One says that it's corresponding to Birkas Kayanim. You hear this? Birkas Kayanim is set up 3-5-7. The first bracha is Yivrech Hashem Yishmerecha. It's 3 words. Yer Hashem Panav Elecha V'Chanecha is 5 words. Yisa Hashem Panav Elecha V'Yasem Chashalom is 7. Yeah, I'm gonna know everyone's passwords now to the. Okay. V'chad Amar Keneged Shleish Hashem Yasaf. Some say it's corresponding to the 3 Shemri Asaf. I'm not sure exactly what that means. The guards. Rashi says it's referring to the Megillah. It says there's Shleish Shemri Asaf. Guards of something in the Megillah. And then there's Chamisha Raya Pnei HaMelech and there's Shiva Raya Pnei HaMelech. In the Megillah it says there's 7 people there's 5 people that see the king, probably advisors, and then there's 7 people that see the king. So it corresponds to these advisors. Tosfos is a little shocked that we should use Achashverosh's guards to tell me how many aliyahs we should have. Okay, he has a different source. Tani, basically, but it's also guards, but it's not from Achashverosh. Tani Rab Yosef teaches Gimel, Chamisha v'Shiva, Shleisha Shemri Asaf, Chamisha Rei Pnei HaMelech, Shiva Rei Pnei HaMelech, the same thing. Amalei Abaya says to Rab Yosef, Abaya is a student of Rab Yosef. He says, why? How come you never told this to me? You never told me you needed that information. Did you ever ask me and I didn't tell you? You never asked. I didn't say.
Is this the reason, or is this just ways of remembering?
I don't know.
As we've previously explained the reasons based on the days of Muslims, etc.
Right.
This just sounds more to me like
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah. Dr. Stein is asking if this is a reason or if this is just a way of remembering.
It says that it's connected to 6 people that stood from the days of Ezra.
Yeah, we'll have that soon. It's gonna come up. Amale Yaakov Mina Rav Yehuda. Yaakov Mina sounds like he's a heretic, but Tosfos says, "Oh, don't say that, because we would never mention him by name if that's the case. It must be that the girsas it's supposed to be matzah. Sounds like someone that makes mats or something." But Yaakov Mina says to Rav Yehuda, "Hani Shisha the Yom Kippurim connected me." Who is the 6 of Yom Kippur corresponding to? Amalei connected Shisha Shamda Mimina Shel Ezra, B'Shisha Mismala. It's corresponding to the 6 people on the right and on the left of Ezra. Vayamid Ezra Shnemar, as it says, Vayamid Ezra Seif Al Migdal Eitz Asher Asu L'Davar. Vayam Yedetzlai. Ezra stood on this platform of wood that was made, and standing next to him is Matisya v'Shema. Shema. Yeah, I know someone Shema. I was wondering like where that name came from. Shema. Ve'Anya, ve'Uriya, ve'Chilkiya, Umasya. All that's on Yeminai. Umismaili is Pedia. That's like isn't that a Spanish name, right? Pedia. And Mishal, Malkia, ve'Chasam, ve'Chashbadna, Zachariah, Meshulam, maybe Meshalim. Anyone have vowels there? What is it? Meshulam. The Gemara says Hani Shiva, but 1 second, you counted too many. So it says Hainu Zachariah, Hana Meshulam. But my Karim Meshulam, the Mishlam Buvde. Zachariah is really Meshulam, but why is he called 2 names? He's really Zachariah Meshulam. That means he was perfect. He was Tamim b'Maisav. He had perfect behavior. He's called Meshulam. Okay, so that's an answer for the 6. Shiva. Everyone can get an aliyah. Don't say this too loud. These people are going to take this out. They're going to start practicing this. Afilu katna, afilu isha. Even a child, even a woman. But the sages said, it's not respectful to the community if the woman gets called up to the aliyah. Okay, now the Gemara has another question.
Just a minyan with women.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah, yeah. It sounds like it would change. The only thing is that it's not counted. A minyan with women wouldn't count. As we'll see on the next page of the Gemara. But yeah.
Right, yeah. That's pretty much what I.
So, Ibailo, they have a question. Mafter Maushi Aluminium Shiva. When you said that there's mafter, I've always been vague when translating this. We just say the haftarah. But actually,
Right.
is that a seventh aliyah? Is the mafter the
Yeah.
seventh aliyah, or is mafter an eighth aliyah? The Gemara, it wasn't clear the whole time. And it's interesting because on Shabbos, the mafter is the eighth aliyah for us. And on Tainus, mafter is not a fourth aliyah, it's the third aliyah. So it's not 100% clear how this is working. Where's the question? How does it work? So Rav Huna, Rav Yirmiyah, Barab B'chad Amar Oila, B'chad Amar Eina Oila. One says that it's counted as part of the seven. One says that it's not counted.
But with the Shabbos, the mafia should
No.
repeat the part of the seven. When it's Yom Tov for anything else, the mafia is read from somewhere else. So it truly is an 8 or 6, whatever the way it is.
Yeah.
That's all.
So I hear. So Chadamar Oila v'Chadamar Eina Oila. The question of Oila, the term Oila means that it's included in the seven. And Eina Oila means it's not included in the seven, and you need 8. So Mandamar Oila, the one that says that it's included, the Akari, because he reads from the Torah. So that's 7. We said the 7. That's good. Mandamar Eina Oila, the one that says that it's not included, you have the full 7 plus him. Kidaula. That follows Ula. Damar Ula. Mipema after benavitzar shik b'Torah tchila nekavet Torah. How come the one that reads the haftarah needs to also read from the Torah? It says, oh, that's just because we don't want to make the Torah and the Nevi'im equal. We have to have it that the Torah is the main thing, and the Nevi'im is just like an addition to that. So you don't want him to be, oh, there's the Torah and then there's Navi, as if it's totally independent. No, he has to read from the Torah first. Torah. Since it's just for the Kavod Torah, then the Minyan Alei Salak, it doesn't go into the count. It's not a real aliyah. It's just there to show that the mafter is not totally separate and has its own significance. It's not a real chayva. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. Mafter benavi le'yifchis me'esrim ve'echad psukim. Can't have less than 21 psukim. Keneged shiva shekara b'Torah, corresponding to the 7 that read from the Torah. Why? Because it's 3 times 7, 3 psukim each. Each aliyah is 3 psukim. That equals 21. V'misa, and if you say that there's really 8, esrim v'arba havin, there's really 24. 8 times 3. The Gemara says, "Given the mishum kavod Torah, it's not a problem. That's not part of the count anyway. It's just for kavod Torah. So connect the nami leiba. You also don't need the haftarah to correspond to that aliyah." Maskefla Rav has a question. Very Elisechem Safel. Which haftarah is this? Elisechem Safel. Do they have an esrim b'chad? It's a smaller haftarah. It's not 21 psukim b'karinan. It says Shani Hasim Desalak Inyan. Over there we don't have a choice because. Does it say over there in English which haftarah Elisechem Safel is? Tav. It's only 17 psukim. Very interesting. Parshas Tav, only 17 psukim. Over there it says, well, because the subject ends. So that's why we have to stop. And if the subject doesn't end, then you can't. Reb Shmuel Barabba says, I was many times in front of Rabbi Yechanan. We read 10 psukim. He would say, okay, that's enough.
Why do you see between sometimes says this one stops here?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Is there anything to do with it?
I'm not sure. The Gemara says, whose after is usually longer? The Sfardim or Ashkenazim?
Spartan or no?
Uh-huh.
Spartan longer, no?
I don't know.
Probably
Malcolm
the same
Sheish.
length. It's the same length. It's just that to take forever to say it. It has a special,
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
He says it's the same length. It's just that it takes forever to say it. Okay.
No, but it's added.
No, but there's different. The question,
Shorter.
Dr. Stein is asking if it's based on this Gemara, there's some interpretation here that Makam Sheish Turgum and Shiny. By Rabbi Yochanan, they were translating it as well, so that's why they would cut it short. They wouldn't have to say 21 psukim. Doesn't mean that they would say 11 psukim. I'm not sure. It says they would only say 10. Karnasar psukim. Okay. The Tani Rav Tachlifa Bar Shmuel Leishan Al Makom Shein Turguman. When do you need to say 21 psukim in the Haftarah? That's only if there's no Turgum in there, if there's no translation going on. But of Makom Sheish Turguman Paisik. But if there's a translation, then you don't have to read 21 psukim. You can just, I guess, just say 10. Valzeno Seimchen, Tosfos says. Yeah, that we don't have a Meturguman. Achina Parshias. Okay, let's leave it over here. We're holding by the Mishnah. Have a good day, everyone.